HARK! We are here. It is time for yet another Star Wars Unlimited video. Today, aggression begins. And by that, I mean we've got a lot of aggression to showcase to you, plus a couple of other cards from other things. We've got creator previews, we've got website previews, we've got FFG previews, and we've got a new base. We've got all kinds of things to go through, plus the FFG live stream, which covers aggression very quickly, because aggression does very specific amount of things that don't need a lot of explanation. And then on top of that, telling us when the next events are going to take place that FFG will be at, and some other little fun pieces of information. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be reviewing previews here very, very soon. And by very soon, I mean right now. We have a lot of previews. So let's get started. Our first preview comes by way of the FFG Twitter, Unlimited FFG Twitter, officially starting Aggression Month. And it starts off with a base, because that's what won the vote for revealing 4 card types through the Twitter, and it is Tarkin Town. Now, we actually saw Tarkin Town before, at least the text and the image, but not exactly what it did. And Tarkin Town was on the Spiel Gamegenic display inside the pocket for the aggression box where the base goes. So we knew it was our 25 health aggression epic action base, but specifically the epic action is deal 3 damage to a damaged non-leader unit. It is a rare base. It is number 25 out of 252 in SOR. We saw the security complex, which puts a shield on one of your units for 25 health and an epic action. We saw the energy conversion lab, which is the command base. Security complex was the vigilance base, which allows you to ambush in paying the cost, a 6 cost or less unit, and now Tarkin Town deals 3 damage to a damaged non-leader unit. It has been argued and debated for a long time about the value of these 25 health bases, and I think we're still in a position right now where Energy Conversion Lab is the only one that's worth consideration. I firmly believe that the way that the game is played, you cannot afford the 5 health unless the effect is insane. The Energy Conversion Lab is the only one so far that has a powerful enough effect that makes me go, this might be worth losing 5 HP for. Dealing 3 damage to a damaged non-leader unit is not worth the 5 HP. It's a cool base. Tarkin Town is an interesting reference to Lethal, but personally right now so far, there's nothing that has been revealed that makes me go, this is a great epic action and what I want to use an epic action on. That's all there is to it. Some people think this is insane. I don't. Energy Conversion Lab, of the 25 health bases we've seen so far, that's the one to go. This one is not. But that's okay. If you like it, that's perfect. I don't. Next, we have 2 cards, 2 previews coming from wargamer.net, I believe. Description below. And this first one is a cunning upgrade. It is a 1-cost cunning upgrade called Smuggling Compartment. You attach it to a vehicle unit. Attached unit gains on attack ready a resource. +1 power, +1 health. Smuggling Compartment modification. It is an uncommon number 214 out of 252 in SOR. This is a really neat upgrade. However, vehicles to justify the cost of an upgrade, yeah, this is a 1-cost upgrade, need to have something a little bit more powerful. If this was a +2/+2 or even a +2/+1, I think this would be much more viable, much more runnable. I don't think that a Boba Fett deck is going to want to run this because you're already readying enough resources, but maybe you do. I think this is actually a decent draft card or a sealed card if you have enough vehicles in your pool, but it might go by the wayside if you don't have enough vehicles in your pool. Needless to say, it's a cool looking card. It's the Smuggling Compartment on the Falcon. You get a bunch of things that you get to hide away from the Empire when they do their searches or other local governments that don't like smuggled goods like spice. It's kind of an average upgrade. I would run it in a deck that I know runs enough vehicles and runs cunning and wants this extra resource readiment, but I think there are other ways to get those resource bonuses, whether that's through Han, whether that's through Boba Fett, whether that's through other means like Leia. This could be something that floats as a 1 of or a 2 of in your deck, and you can potentially be confident that it'll be a resource each time, or if the right moment pops, you could go, you know what? Smuggling Compartment, let's go. Because technically on the turn, if you play it on something that can attack, it will pay for itself. And that's not terrible. You just have to set yourself up for that and hope your opponent doesn't blow up whatever opportunity you have to be able to do something. If there comes something where it allows you to play an upgrade, then attack with the unit that you upgraded with, then cool, that works. But I doubt we'll see that level of like, play a card as your action, then do another thing as an action, then do another thing as an action. A sequence of events that do that. We've done 1, play a card, do an action, do another action, but a daisy chain of 3, I doubt we see this early. This next preview also comes by Wargamer.net. It is a piece of junk. We have the Millennium Falcon. 3 cost, Cunning Heroism, Space Unit, Millennium Falcon, piece of junk. 3 power, 4 health, Underworld Vehicle Transport. This unit enters play ready. When you ready cards during the regroup phase, either pay 1 or return this unit to her owner's hand. It is a legendary, it is number 193 out of 252, and it is from SOR. Quick clarification about rules. There are multiple phases that you participate in Star Wars Unlimited. The 2 phases that matter the most are the action phase, which is one of the first things you do in the round, and the regroup phase, which is one of the last things you do in the round. During the regroup phase, you play your resource, which comes in exhausted, and then you ready all your cards. When you ready all your cards, the window of opportunity opens for Millennium Falcon's effect to activate. So you will have all of your resources ready to be able to pay to keep the Millennium Falcon on the board. Now, whether you want to or not is completely up to you for that individual strategy and specific thing. And there's a combination with this card with the Cunning Heroism Han leader that we previewed in the last episode that is just nuts. And I think it's designed that way on purpose. The Millennium Falcon is designed as something that can either come in, blast something really quick, and peel off the board to protect itself from being destroyed, or if you need to make sure you can do something with it in the next round, you do the exact same thing. It shoots, gets off the board, and you could potentially play another one if you have another one in your hand. This card is, without a doubt, in my mind, the strongest legendary we've seen so far. And this is also stronger than another legendary that we're going to see later on. That legendary is really good, but this legendary is better. I would not be surprised if the Millennium Falcon, piece of junk, was a 3 of in every Cunning Heroism deck, especially if that deck is Han, and especially if that deck is gains bonuses based upon vehicles or Underworld, right? This ship is nuts. But the fact that you can, and this is an example, start your turn, you could start literally the first round if this is in your hand. You have 2 resources. You say, Han is going to activate his ability, exhaust, put a resource on the board ready, right? Now, on my next action, I pay all 3. Millennium Falcon comes into play. Opponent does his thing. Obviously, there's interactions back and forth. You shoot with the Millennium Falcon something off the space side of the board that you need to get rid of, or attack your opponent's base for that extra quick 3 damage. And then your options are to just pick this up back to your hand, or because at the regroup phase of the first round, if you used Han's ability, you will have 4 resources on the board. You can exhaust 1 resource to keep the Millennium Falcon on the board. And at the beginning of your action phase on round 2, when Han's ability triggers to defeat a resource you control, you just defeat the one that's already been exhausted to pay for the Millennium Falcon. And now you are not down any resources whatsoever for utilizing the Millennium Falcon. And you can mix that with other strategies that pull cards from your discard pile by setting a resource that you know you want to destroy with Han's ability, using it to pay for the Falcon's ability, and then destroying that to be able to pick it out of your discard pile at a later session of the game. I said this on the Discord, and I want to get the actual words here correctly. So what I specifically said was, not gonna lie, the interaction between Leader Han and the Falcon is incredible. A complex series of decisions that could potentially net you benefits in the early, mid, and late sessions of the game. And it's 100% correct, because the Falcon can come out early to take something off the board or do some early damage. The Falcon can come out mid to do the same thing to get some mid damage, or the Falcon could be recouped utilizing, if you put it face down as your resource to blow it up with Han later, you can recoup that with something like Home 1 or anything else that pulls a card out of your discard pile to be able to continue attacking if you're running a Cunning Heroism command deck for Home 1. There are so many different strategies that this card and the leader Han open up that, yes, the joke and meme is that it's unlimited, but realistically, this is one of the first combos in the game that actually is unlimited and opens up a wide berth of gameplay options with just 2 cards. These next 4 cards come by way of the FFG Aspect Preview stream on YouTube. We're going to go through them in order. For this first one, I'm going to showcase to you the Hyperspace variant and then the art that they showed us that goes with this specific card. This is a really cool looking card. It showcases a very fun character, not necessarily always a popular character, but I like him a lot. And it really does showcase exactly what aggression is all about. And that card is Aggression. 4 cost, double aggression aspect, innate event. Choose 2 in any order. Draw a card, defeat up to 2 upgrades, ready a unit with 3 or less power, or deal 4 damage to a unit. It is number, I actually don't know the number for the regular card. You can look on the SWDB website, which I'll link again below in the description to find out the number if that's very important to you. It is a legendary in SOR, and it does feature the bad boy himself, Kylo Ren. What does this mean? This means that for 4 cost, if you're double aggression, you can do one of the 2 things. But it also tells us what aggression does. Aggression draws cards. Aggression directly defeats upgrades. Aggression will ready units that have a specific power or less. We've seen that with the Grand Inquisitor, but aggression, the event, is another one that does it. And it deals damage directly to units, which we've seen with Vader's ability, with open fire, and a couple of other things that exist within the scope of aggression. A couple of other things, which I'll get into later when we go over the stream. Overwhelm is another big keyword for aggression. And we've seen that with the Snow Trooper, First Legion Snow Trooper, and we'll see that with another card we see later, but it's pretty interesting that this is what they chose to put on the aggression event itself. I like this one a lot. I like Command a lot. I don't like Vigilance as much, but I like aggression a lot. I definitely, if I were to run a double aggression build, this would be a 3 of in the deck. But to give you exactly what we were showcased earlier, this art is baller. This is incredible to showcase what aggression means, how Kylo Ren himself deals with aggression, and how you are going to look when you slash your opponent's tires utilizing your cards. Don't slash people's tires. This is a fun card, and of the double cost ones that represent what the actual aspect means, this one's my favorite so far. I'm hoping Cunning comes along and does something really neat that justifies its use in double Cunning decks, but aggression, really good. Being able to replace itself and then do one other thing for 4 cost is honestly pretty good. So next we have a vehicle that I personally love and is one of my favorite vehicles because it's a Mandalorian vehicle, and that is the Disabling Fang Fighter. 3 cost aggression space unit, 3 power, 2 health, Mandalorian vehicle fighter. When played, you may defeat an upgrade. Common, 162 out of 252 in SOR. This is what was showcased to us to tell us specifically that there are other things that deal with upgrades. Cunning returns the unit or removes the unit from play for the moment by exhausting it to deal with an upgrade. Command just shoots the unit dead. Vigilance will defeat the unit with stuff like Vanquish or with Takedown. But aggression is the only one that directly defeats the upgrades themselves. And I think that's a really cool thing that you can do. One thing to note that I didn't know until somebody pointed it out, so I'm going to point it out for you all. Tokens, the experience and the shield, are upgrades. So if you drop this, you can defeat an XP token, or you can defeat a shield token without having to worry about anything, because they are considered upgrades. It says token upgrade at the top. I love that this is not heroism or villainy. It is just aggression. That gives me hope for future Mandalorians. I know Sabine is heroism, and I know Jango Fett's probably going to be villainy. We know that Boba Fett is villainy, but this does give me some hope that in the future, maybe we might see some more Mandalorians that are not morality aspect. They're just style aspect and aspected, and we can do more with Mandalorians in decks, but that's probably not going to happen until at least set 2. But this is a fantastic card. Very excited to be able to get this in play, and I love the look of the Fang Fighter moving its wings as it's shooting down the opposing ships in space. Next, we have one of the cooler ground units that we've seen for heroism, but aggression flavor, and it is Fighters for Freedom. 3 cost, aggression, heroism, ground unit, Fighters for Freedom, 3 power, 4 health, Rebel Trooper. It has Saboteur, so when this unit attacks, ignore Sentinel and defeat the defender's shields. When you play another aggression card, you may deal 1 damage to a base. It is an uncommon number 143 out of 252 in SOR. This goes fantastically as a 3 of in every Sabine Wren deck, because you want to play a lot of aggression cards in that deck. This actually goes as a 3 of in any aggression heroism deck that is also double aspected aggression, because you're going to be running more aggression cards, and Sabine already wants to put pressure on your opponent's base. So when this drops down, if you can play more aggression cards, not units, cards, upgrades, events, units, all of those, they will proc this and deal a damage to a base. Really good unit. It does fit the Rebel theme. It does fit the Trooper theme. It's a 3/4 for 3, one of the better statted aspect cards. We're seeing a lot of 3-cost 3/4s, and I think that's really good. It makes that mid-game range available for these like middling units to be able to still be effective and not just taken out by something that costs either the same or less. Like, you're not going to... A Stormtrooper... Death Star Stormtrooper's not going to be taking this out in one attack. But the fact that this can also defeat shields and ignore Sentinel, it just adds to the extra utility of these things coming through and just going boop, 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 and deleting all defenses before it itself is able to attack your opponent's base and continue plinking it every time you play an aggression card. Our last card here is a creature. It's a unit, but a creature, and I know that it made several members of our community very happy, specifically Flake, Charmer, and DOA, the members of the Wamp Radio podcast. And of course, that means this creature is a Wampa. 4-cost aggression, 4 power, 5 health, creature, overwhelm. When attacking an enemy unit, deal excess damage to an opponent's base. Common, 154 out of 252. Probably should have checked that before I recorded this. It is an SOR. It's a Wampa. It kills things. And it goes, you know what? I killed you and I still have extra damage, so I'm gonna swipe at your base while I'm killing you. Stick entrenched on this guy if you're gonna run aggression and vigilance. And now all of a sudden this 4/5 is a 7/8 and just killing everything in its path and dealing damage to the opponent's base. This is a great example of how Overwhelm should work. Just a big beefy creature that just eats you and then throws your dead body at the base. Fantastic. Just fantastic. Congratulations, Wamp Radio guys, for your new face of your podcast. Our next preview comes by way of the Holocron Card Hub Instagram channel. Links below. And it's a very interesting card. This is the Homestead Militia, a 3-cost command ground unit, 3 power, 4 health. Remember what I said about the stats here? Fringe Trooper. While you control 6 or more resources, this unit gains Sentinel. Units in this arena can't attack your non-Sentinel units or your base. Common, 113 out of 252, an SOR. Now, it's an interesting unit because early game, you're basically going to be using this to just poke your opponent's base. But once you hit those 6 resources, which if you're playing the traditional command strategy, ramping up, it's going to get you there easy. You're going to keep these guys in play to be able to make them protect your base. Similar to the Emperor's Royal Guard, if you have an official on the board, it gains Sentinel. By being able to have your characters have the extra ability to have Sentinel on them, it means that you're controlling the gameplay at certain stages so that your opponent has to go through your forces to be able to get to your base. Now, this is much better than the Vigilant Honor Guard from Vigilance because it's a static, your opponent doesn't really have the ability to control this in any way, shape, or form, extra ability of control 6 resources. I am now a Sentinel. Whereas the Vigilant Honor Guard is, when I'm healthy, I'm a Sentinel. If I take even 1 point of damage, I'm not a Sentinel. For 3 costs, I think this is definitely going to be a very good card. I wonder if it will end up being a staple in Trooper decks. It just depends on how fast command decks want to be running cards that pump the resources. And I mean, you start with 2, so it only takes 4 rounds to get to the point where Homestead Militia has that Sentinel. So mid to late game, this might be a very valuable piece of tech for a deck. But in Limited, this is going to be amazing because games are going to go long in Limited because you're not going to have access to every single card that you want to be able to rush at your opponent's face or do your big strategies. You're just hoping to find things that keep you alive long enough to be able to poke at and eliminate your opponent's base. And as long as you're not facing a hyper aggressive strategy, this guy should protect you for at least 2, 3, 4 turns, depending on how much your opponent has access to things that either delete your own cards or things that can bypass Sentinel or things that can just take out a 4 health character. Our last preview for this week comes by way of the Unlimited FFG Twitter account. Got it right. Link below. And it is our vote thing, much like we had the base at the beginning of this episode. This last preview is a unit, and it is the Cantina Bragger. 1 cost, just aggression, ground unit, 0 power, underworld, 3 health. Raid 2, this unit gets +2 while attacking. It's a common, it's 157 out of 252 in SOR. Now, You're asking yourself, why would I ever play this? Think about something else that costs 1 and does things. The Death Star Stormtrooper, which is a 1 cost command villainy, 3 power, 1 health. Well, the reason why is that this is a little bit harder to clear off the board. You need 3 full damage in order to be able to do so. Whereas with the Stormtrooper, you could just plink it off the board. Extra damage, fallen lightsaber, all kinds of different things, combinations will be able to remove that without it being a danger. This isn't a danger by itself, but when it's attacking, it will end up dealing the extra damage because it goes from a 0-3 to a 2-3. That does mean it cannot retaliate when it is attacked, which is unfortunate, but it also only costs 1. And it also means that without other support, it is not doing any heavy lifting on its own. However, with the card Fighters Fighting for Freedom, this as a 1 cost means you're paying 1 resource to deal 1 damage to your opponent's base and put a body on the board. And then on the next round, if it survives, you attack, you get your 2 attack. It can knock out something like a Sentinel or deal damage to a Sentinel, or it could attack the base or knock out something that's low that you don't want to risk using one of your higher units. There's a lot of interesting possibilities with this card here. I think it'll see a lot more play in limited when you just need bodies on the ground to be able to do things. But unless your strategy is specifically using Fighters Fighting for Freedom or Fighters for Freedom, whatever it's actually called, you probably won't see this in a lot of aggression decks. I think it's interesting. I was very meh initially looking at it, but the combo potential I think is there because this will stack with IG-88's raid ability, and this will help keep pressure on your opponent if you're continuing to attack while you're playing something like Sabine Wren, the leader, to be able to just poke. I kind of wish this was a Rebel and not Underworld, or maybe Rebel Underworld, both. But I understand that they have to kind of rein in the Rebel strategy so that not every deck is just, oh, you're running Rebels? Cool, here's all the Rebels. Or, oh, you're running Imperials? Cool, here's all the Imperials. I want my, oh, you're running Underworld? Here's all the Underworld. And I think this card is very good in IG-88 because you can just say IG-88 says you attack, you get +1, now you're attacking at +3, and then on the leader side it gets all of your units except for IG-88 himself get raid 1, so now this thing's attacking at raid 3. Seems pretty good. Seems pretty decent. Limited fodder, or specifically for aggression decks that are trying to push through bodies. On Wednesday, October 11th, Fantasy Flight Games presented to us the Aggression Aspect preview stream. They played pretty fast and loose with this stream. They showed us a couple of previews, which you saw before, and they also basically gave us the lowdown on aggression, which is very simple. Aggression's plan is to get rid of stuff and attack, which makes a lot of sense for an aspect called aggression, right? So our people for the stream were Josh, Tyler, and Danny. They, as I said, aggression wants to get rid of stuff. They spend all their resources to kill things and attack the base. Aggression's place within the color pie as a whole, as Tyler likes to describe, is damage. Going over older cards to showcase aggression's damage, they can be aggro, they can be control. Red doesn't necessarily like to choose between whether it's taking care of units or the base. Some things will do both. We've seen, for example, Sabine being able to attack into a defender and deal damage to the defender, or attack the base and deal damage into the base. Some will be attacking into defenders and also dealing damage into the base, so on and so forth. Vader famously plinks an opposing unit for 1 and then also plinks a base for 1. Overwhelm is very prevalent in aggression, so we're going to see a lot of Overwhelm units. We've already seen the 1st Legion Snowtrooper. We've seen Wampa as of this video. Overwhelm is actually probably going to be one of the best tools in aggression's kit, specifically because a lot of their units are designed to go in, slam against something, and then either die or hope they could do it again. But with Overwhelm, you can slam into something and carry that damage over, and that's pretty impressive. Aggression also gets access to card draw, and this was something that I speculated a little bit on based on like stuff like the Starwing Scout, but I was hoping that because aggression just dumps things onto the board, that they would also get tools that would allow them to refill their hand. We know that if you force choke your own unit, you get a card back. The Starwing Scout will draw cards, and as before, aggression itself will allow you to draw a card, 2 cards, a card. Aggression attacks a lot. Readying units is an aggression thing. Aggression is also a big power numbers faction aspect. And grit is also prevalent in aggression. Now, I know that this is something that Tyler knows of, and we haven't seen the whole card pool yet, but we have not seen a single grit character in aggression. So as it stands right now, Vigilance Chewy Leader and Vigilance Rugged Survivors are the only cards that have grit on them. So if you wanted to combine aggression and vigilance into a deck to move forward, that would be an option to get those grit units. But we haven't seen any aggression grit units as of yet, compared to where we've definitely seen overwhelm. That doesn't mean that grit doesn't exist on aggression units. What it means is that I wish they would have shown us an aggression grit unit. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. I believe it's there. Show, don't tell. The other thing, and this I talked about a little bit earlier, is aggression is the only aspect that directly defeats upgrades. The Disabling Fang Fighter directly defeats an upgrade. Aggression directly defeats two upgrades. So that's actually very interesting in terms of how they built aggression to be able to handle specific things. They're trying to take units off the board through damage. They will take upgrades off the board by just directly defeating them. You draw cards and you just keep throwing things at your opponent's face, which is definitely one of my favorite styles of gameplay. Obviously, if you're a Magic the Gathering player and you've played red in Magic the Gathering, this is going to feel very similar. The host played Guess the Abilities on the Aspect game. They kind of messed it up a little bit, but that's okay. Aggression itself, the card, showcases most everything it can do on a single card, everything the Aspect can do on a single card, such as the other ones. And aggression is very fast, which is another reason why I think the 25 health bases aren't as strong as some people make them out to be. If aggression ends up being one of the main aspects you build and play, losing 25 health at the beginning of the game for a middling effect is not going to be how you win games. Moving that aside, as that was not part of the stream, they do give us some housekeeping here. The next events that FFG will be at representing Star Wars Unlimited are TwitchCon, Comic-Con in Chile, Lucca Game Festival in Italy, PAX Unplugged. There should be more events this year and definitely more events at the beginning of next year, but those are the ones that they specifically named out. Tyler also decided that he was going to say there will be a Mace Windu leader eventually, probably in set 3. He's excited about the weird corners of Star Wars that he can play with now as a playtester and designer for future sets. Remember, one of the articles specifically stated that they've been designing up to set 7. Those are the things that he can play with now in terms of set 1 stuff, but then also eventually IRL with other things like set 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So it's good to know that they are going to be pulling from a large swath and space within Star Wars itself, because as we know, Star Wars Unlimited. They'll be back in 2 weeks for another organized play live stream. That'll be Josh and Xander, which should be fun. That'll be Xander's first time on stream instead of behind the keyboard moderating and doing other things. And then next month's Aspect stream in November, obviously Cunning, since that's the last style Aspect remaining. And that should be fun. Danny also specifically told us that his favorite Cunning card is the Millennium Falcon, which we got to see a little bit earlier in this video. And not my favorite Cunning card, but definitely top 5. My favorite Cunning card is, actually, that's a really good question. I think my favorite Cunning card is Waylay. Waylay, Shoot First, Boba Fett, the leader, Millennium Falcon for sure. I'd probably say Boba Unit just because it's a Boba Fett, or it's a Boba Fett. Boba Fett's one of my favorite characters. But I bet you something else comes up in Spark of Rebellion that will be like, hey, this is another Cunning thing that's really cool. Very, very quick stream. You'll note that this section is much shorter than the other sections that we've done for Aspect streams. And honestly, I think it's just because they knew that aggression does a small amount of things. It damages things, it destroys upgrades, it draws cards, it hits bases. It's just, think of a Star Destroyer shooting everything it has. Think of Kylo Ren yelling more on the surface of crates as all of their big monkey walkers start shooting its blasters. That's what aggression is. Aggression just blows stuff up. And I like that. I like blowing stuff up. And I hope you do too. And that's all she wrote for this week. I actually thought this was going to be a shorter video than normal given how the aggression stream went, but we got a ton of card previews that we were able to check out and talk about within this video itself. So that's it. We'll be refreshing and going through to the next episode next week. No stream after this week, but there will be a stream after my video next week. That's one of the benefits of being able to post on Wednesday. It seems like I'm the last person, but technically I'm the first person because you're going to watch FFG on YouTube anyway. Like and comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on all the platforms, hit the notification bell, do all the YouTube things. Let me know in the comments if you're going to any of the events I talked about at the end of the FFG section to check out Star Wars Unlimited, or what you're excited about Aggression, or potentially what you might think will be coming for Cunning next month. Lots of discussion going on around the Star Wars Unlimited communities, and I would like to partake more of it here on the RybackStun YouTube channel, your one-stop shop for all your Star Wars Unlimited needs. That's it. I've got nothing else to do, so with that, I will see you in the stars.